Oh, okay. Nixie ko nistu nidane ko mokoyo sakoi nistu skapi pikani, and I greet you to the Native Wellness Institute's Power Hour, and I believe we're going into like the 200, almost 20 power hours since the month of March. Native Wellness Institute, we're this organization that has evolved for starting in the 80s, and officially we're celebrating 20 years to date. We have a large team of just wonderful people, and our executive director is Jolene Joseph, my dear. I don't want to say my little sister, she's 10 years younger, but she's our executive director. And I just want to give a shout out to Robert Johnston, another board member. I want to give a shout out to Cecilia Fire Thunder, another board member. I want to give a shout out to the late Charlie Tailfeathers, another critical piece of us that we mourn, who passed from COVID. I want to give a shout out to Lavina Louie. Oh, she did a tremendous power hour yesterday. If you would like to go back and see that with Smoker and our relatives from Colville and up into Canada, as well as just the fantastic person she is. I also want to give a shout out to Jackie Blackbird, who has given her all to N7 and Nike for 18 years and has decided to transform into something else great to be revealed. I want to give a shout out, of course, to Crazy Raven, Gene Tagabon, our other board member. Gene is just, he shape shifts all the time. That's what we love about him. And I just, we have a large team of consultants, and we welcome you to the Power Hour. And so I just been out, and I had to rebraid my hair because I told Jolene that I look like I came from the bush. so I rebraided my hair because we have a value in and a lot of Native women have this value. You should always adorn yourself, and you should always look presentable because you're representing your ancestors and your people. So I rebraided my hair, and so well, I want to visit with you. We called this "Why We Should Listen to Our Mother," and so of course, I thought. I called my mom after prayers this morning, and I asked her, I said, and I can talk to I said, Mom, if you could just give us some threads of wisdom, of course in bullet form, Mom, because Mom, her bullets are 3 paragraphs long. So I said, can you just, from your version and then from my version, and and I said, and not just to me, it's to all of our people, our tribal people, our indigenous people, and our allies. So right, just 5 minutes ago I called her, and she had 7 bullets. They're kind of one of the bullets is kind of long, but I just because I always do what my mother says, and I guess I was raised in that generation of when Grandma said, "Do this," you got up and you did it. You were never you never challenged her, but you could talk to her and ask her why we did some stuff. So I was raised and just I said Oki in my Blackfoot language. I'm a practicing speaker, There's not. It's just not fluent. Don't speak. It's we have all these people in between, and we gracefully allow them to practice in any way. We never tell them where they're wrong. We never tell them they said it wrong. That's what the oppressors do. So I I told you. So I need to say my mother's name, and then because it's very my mother raised us that the most one of the most important ceremonies from the get go is to have your Indian name, and so and she was named after Yuskriptadaki is how she says it. And there's dialect of Skapi Pikani in the United States, and there's dialect of Siksikai up out of Gleason, Alberta, and then Kainai, our blood tribe, there's dialect, and then Brockett, our Butsapikani, there's dialect. But she always said, you Skriptadaki, yellow flower woman. And so her mother is named Awalski. And Awalski always said that mom was named after a grandmother that lived to be around 115. And she had a birthmark on her, a certain birthmark. And so when my mother was born as a baby, she had the same, as they're holding, she had the same birthmark. So she was named Yellow Flower Woman. And so that's the mother who fell in love and was soulmates with my father, Monokini Pete Leonard Newbreast Iron Pipe. He was an Iron Pipe. And so when I was born, they had to. I was born. All four grandparents were there. Three were Blackfoot, and one was an escapee from the Europeans who ran away and lived with the Indians and fell madly in love with my grandma and never went back. And so he anyway. So they named me Okstokama. Grandma Agnes Iron Pipe, and her name is Atstanikiwa, kills close, because in our tribe we give our girls and our warrior names, because then that warrior name, the energy and the spirits and will protect her all her life if she has a warrior's name. So Atstanikiwa, and that is a name that means kills close. That you get up to your enemy, and you look them in the eye, and you respect their life before you kill them. You kills close. So and Lori, of course, Lori has that name. So I wanted to. I'm going to do what my mother told me. So one of ever since I was oh God, because I moved out of the house when I was 17. I got a apartment with my boyfriend, and I was going to UC Berkeley. But I always I carried this, and I'll just read it for you, because this was something that, and it's tattered. It's been in every house I've lived in. But it says, I shall pass through this world but once. Any good for that I can do, or any kindness that I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. And so this I put in my house because I felt like I was putting my mother in. And when I'm saying this, it's not just about me or my mother, because these were my mother wanted this to go out to all mothers and grandmothers, and to all of us, because Governor Bullock. We have this really cool Governor Bullock in the state of Montana. And he honored what Eleanor Roosevelt started in 1935 with the 50 states. And so it'd be good for you to find out in your state. Or there's 50, since 1935, they have Mothers of the Year. And every year, so Governor Bullock nominated my mother, Betty N. Cooper, you scripted Docky, Yellow Flower Woman. And she went to Washington, D.C. last year. And what was so cool was, prior to, that's why our country is just changing. It's just changed. It's transforming into a beautiful democracy right now. So there was 50 and 40 of them, because you had to pay your own way. Eh? They should have paid their way, don't you think? But 40 of them showed up. And it was the first year that they had women of color, that they had Indigenous Mothers of the Year. So Governor Bullock, my mother was the Mother of the Year in 2019 from the state of Montana to the United States. And again, it's becoming united. It's a little bit divided, but we'll be united again. So she went, and it was so... all the mothers from the South, there was she was a black Indian because she had some Indian blood, but she looked African American. Just beautiful white hat, beautiful white dress, just I mean, all of the women were so beautiful, and they were all Mothers of the Year. So that's why I had her give me these bullets to visit with you on the Power Hour, because this is going out to just all of the mothers. And before I go any further, I got my John Isaiah Peppian, who is one of our extreme, innovative, creative artists. And I just want to honor Mary Pace from Kainai, who her funeral is happening right now. And she was 93 years old. But I remember at her 90th birthday, we gave her a scarf just like this, and she just treasured it. So, to honor her, because we can't go to the funeral, we can't be with our family, and we just honor her. So I hung this for Mary Pace, and. So the first bullet, and I cry because I don't suck it up anymore. I like to enjoy healing. And so the first bullet I read to you about being kind to each person, but the second one, and this is a 3-paragraph one, but I condensed it. So Mom said to us, and she would like to share, that down through time, your grandmothers and your mothers, they went through difficult times. We went through smallpox blankets. We went through tuberculosis. We went through them taking all of our children. My mother was a child that was put in a boarding school, Cutbank boarding school, and so was my father at a very young age and not speaking English. So we've gone through that, and we're still healing, and we're at a good place with it, with our healing. But my mom said, all of these grandmothers, they went through difficult times, but she said, remember, they went through beautiful times. Gotta take a big drink. I love pH balanced water. She said they went through childbirth. Every child that they gave birth to was such joy. That they went through weddings. That they went through graduations. That they went through celebratory ceremonies. That they went through all of and they were matriarchs. And that's her message was, during this COVID time, we've lost some matriarchs. We've lost some patriarchs too, but the matriarchs that we've lost, and this is what she said. She said, please ask everyone to go and to get a mirror, go into the bathroom, and to look into the mirror, because they are not gone. They're inside of you. They're inside of, it's even like, feel your heart beat. That blood flowing through your life force is them. And she said, look in the mirror and ask yourself, they're gone, but what would they want you to do? Because you've heard them, you've watched them, you've admired them, and you know them, and what would they want you to do? And she said, and you'll know the answer, because they're never gone, and even though you cannot see them, they're right there. So that was her second bullet, around why we should listen to our mothers and why we should listen to our grandmothers. And so and before I move to the next one, I just want to acknowledge Cynthia Kipp, that her funeral was yesterday, and the family didn't want it to be a super spreader because she has a big giant. We have 1.5 million acres, and we have a lot of families, and she has a giant family. So a lot of us just went and parked up on the mountain way far away and said prayers. But I just want to acknowledge her, because I say our prayers, put your prayers out to the families that have lost someone from COVID. Are they currently, because like right now we have close to 1,000 recovered here, and there's recovered, but there's people suffering now. So during this power hour, we wanted to uplift you with these grandma, these grandma messages. Okay, so the third bullet, and this one's kind of an interesting one, because my mom said this all our lives, and now I'm 64 and a half. I'll be 65 in April. And now I get it as I age. I understand why she said, if we were just little girls, and she would say to us, now remember that the first 40 years of your life you learn how, and then the next 40 years of your life is really what counts. So think about that in terms of, if you're raising, and that applies to everybody, male, female, LGBTQ, two-spirit. And just to note, one of a teaching, and I don't know if it's a Blackfoot teaching, but a lot of, before there were oppressors or settlers or any of those guys came, there was a definition of gender that was different than how Europeans seen it. So I heard one of our elders, and so I repeated, that as many stars in the sky is how many definitions of gender you have. So you have to respect all definitions of gender, because there's many. So in that saying, that first four, so think about, this is to everyone, that first 40 years of your life. So think about that being practice. That's how I did it. I swear I those first 40 years was practice, and I was learning how. So we have the value of it's okay to make mistakes. But you better learn for those mistakes. So it was like, these first 40 years, I had a lot of forgiveness. And I know when I turned 40, I symbolically wanted to go to the farthest, and that's why I have so many Alaska allies, and I wanted to go to the farthest north, so I went up to around Nome, and I wanted to go on the Bering Strait, and I wanted to walk out on the ice, because I knew from 40 years old, the next 40 was what was going to count. And so my celebration, so I had this, I have this friend Nick Gonzalez and David Sam and some other friends up there, and I said, I just want to come up to walk on the Bering Strait, and you don't have to. We don't have to have no party, no nothing. I'm not into that. Just leave me alone. I want to walk out there. So I did that, and I remember praying, and I remember crying, and asking Creator, about to be, to please help me. Now that it was going to start counting, to help me to behave better and to be better. And so at 40, now, and some days, when I relapse into like when I want to choke Trump or something, poor guy, I'm gonna start praying for him. I mean, when I relapse into some of that kind of thinking, I'm getting better at just pulling it back. And so that brings me to the next bullet that my mother just said to me a couple minutes before and I see her practice this, and she said that please when be aware, and this is like to have a consciousness, please be aware when you're trying to help someone. And if you're trying to help someone who is stuck, and she calls it stuck in a rut, where what that rut might be, drugs and alcohol, that rut might be just complaining and being miserable, that whatever that, when you're trying to help someone, she said, take time to find out what they like. Take time to find out what makes them happy. Take time, and whatever that is, when you're helping them, just bring them by something happy. So it makes me think of a story, because my mother ran a treatment program just for natives, and it eventually became just for women and their children, but she'd had some men and their children. It was so that the children were getting help and mental health counseling as well as the addict. And so one of the things that she would teach everybody how to make bread. I just remember, because I used to have an office in the treatment program, and I remember like the first time bread makers, because they were too busy drinking and partying, and they didn't know how to make bread, and it's just sad. So she'd but this first, I remember this one crew, it was their first time, and they were kneading, because they thought you had to follow Indian bread. It's about knowing what to throw in, and there's no recipe. So she was teaching them, and their poor little biscuits, they just stayed small, and they were hard, and they didn't even raise. I mean, you know how like bread, like a biscuit raises, they didn't even raise, and they got so giddy and funny about it, but they were practicing, but I remember them saying, sheesh, these biscuits could be, ammunition. They're kind of like having, a food fight, just look at this biscuit, but they were having fun, and they eventually learned how to make bread, because they had to take turns in serving all the meals in the treatment program. And there were some good bread bakers, because God, you'd come in and it was yeast bread, it wasn't quick bread. You just smell the fresh yeast bread. And you guys just think fresh yeast bread, hot out of the oven, and you put butter on it. Oh my God. Just think how much joy that brings. So listen to your mother, because you just got to find out what makes people happy, and that's what you concentrate on. Yesterday when I was listening to Levina, and I was just thinking of all these... I remember one of my mentors told me when I was working with youth, and his name was Joe Carrillo. His family is still down at Tule River doing amazing things. But he said, when you're working with these youth, if they want to make mud pies, your job is to bring the mud. It's I just so it kind of like what goes with mom said. So please be aware when someone's stuck in a rut. When you're talking with them, find out what brings them happiness, and that's what you do. Um, again, I just want to say welcome to our Power Hour from Native Wellness Institute. If you're just joining us, um, I can see some of the comments, but I'm just going to move ahead with what my mother told me I should speak about. So and I was thinking about this one because she said, Ishtapatapio, that's what we call a creator. Um, let's see, Lakota, Nakota, Dakota call him Tinkashala. Um, Absalaga crows call him Akpadadia. Lame deer call him Mahio. There's just so many terms, but she said, if you do your best, this is just like, do your best to greet Creator at sunrise. You might just make it a regular thing that you do in your lifetime. Do your best to greet Creator at sunrise, and again, I mean, of course, throughout the day at sunset. She said, if you have that time of talking to Ishtapatapio at sunrise, and especially, and I think of it like now because I've learned to, if it's still dark, I look for the morning star, and I pray to the morning star. And and I think about too, like when our people, it's so beautiful because like when they clean you off, like if you've had grief, or if you've we paint our people. We have certain ways of painting them, but they always they when they're mixing their sakum, that means the earth. They pray to the morning star, the evening star, the sun and the moon, and then there's a prayer. I'm not here to turn you all into Blackfoots. I mean, but where I'm just an example. She was saying this importance of doing that at sunrise and sunset, and and even those prayers when you're painted. Because that's a way, I think that's a lot of our people right now are doing, even in spite of the deaths and in spite of the COVID, we're doing okay because we can paint ourselves or we can get painted. And what's really cool is, like, I remember John and Carol Murray, John and Carol's June 20th, because we respect the solstice, the equinox, and a lot of our ceremonies are around that. But what was beautiful is this year, because one of our elders and his wife, Leonard Bastine and Audrey came down to help, but they wanted to be social distancing and be not infect anyone, so they were able to just paint John and Carol. And they said, there were days historically that would go out and bless everybody as if everybody were painted. So, and Mom saying this, think about that. Think about the remote prayers as they're going out at sunrise and sunset. And I just really encourage you to, because when you're praying, you can't worry. You can't. Because the biggest obstacle is anticipatory grief right now, and that's a fancy way of saying worry. So then, just say your prayers, and you got 24 hours. 8 of it you get to sleep. That's 16 hours. So that was the other. That's why we should listen to our mothers. I love when I was thinking. Of course, I talked to my sister and I said, "That's the name of my power hour," and she said, "Well, You better talk. You know what Mom always says. This was my sister's input, and I'll talk about that now. It's something my mother always said to us, like when because we were in sports. My brother was through a no hitter, or he was in baseball and threw his arm out, all that kind of stuff. Lori was a competitive um, swimmer. My sister still runs. She's been running the Beta Breakers since 1982. She still gets up. She runs 3 or 4 miles right now, and she's just a couple years younger than me. But when we were doing something tough, or we had to, go to college or whatever we did, she used to always say this, and so this she would say, "Call on your sinew." Relative Roger Prairie Chicken, she was calling, but she said, "Call on your sinew." And so I remember just like concentrating, like when I ran track and I'd be in the 440 relay, or when I ran the 500-mile marathons, which take 4 days. I just remember hearing my mother's words, and that's what we're asking you to do, is to remember your mom's words, and just what she says all the time, and that's why we should listen. We should listen to those words. And so I would just actually, it's like close my eyes, and I would think of, from the bottom of my foot, my sinew, and I think it's like calling on your DNA. Call on your sinew, and call on your sinew, and get it done. Get it done. So that was always. So even even when I went to treatment, I went to treatment twice, but I remember I was still stubborn and thinking I could be a social drinker and all that stuff that you go through. But when I really realized how sick this disease had put me, and I wanted to recover, I remember calling on my sinew. And I think when I called on my sinew, that was what they put the plug in the jug. That's why I haven't drank for 32 and a half years, because I called on my sinew. I'm trying to think other, those of you, and I know I have a lot of those of you who have been in jail before, prison. Because I had to go to jail because I had DUIs in Nevada and California, and that's when computers started talking to each other, and you had to spend 10 days in jail. But I lived somewhere else, so I had to spend it actually in a prison, which was one of the best teachings I ever had, was to spend that time in prison in Reno, Nevada. And when I got to spend time and get out, because that's what the lawyers had coordinated. But I was in prison with women who, and when you're in prison, you can't change the rules. So all of the Indian women were together, and all of the Indian women, it was, when I was with them, I just remember being grateful, because for number one, I was sober, and I was cleaning up the wreckage of my past. But I was with women who were going to go up and do 20 years. And it was sad, because they were all women who had lost their children. They were all women who had taken the rap for their men. They were all women who still had a lot of resentments to blaming someone else for putting them there. And that was what I was surrounded while I did my time. But so I'm telling you this story because, anyway, when one of my relatives dropped me off, and I had a few days to do, and I said, I don't need anything, just come back, and it was a 4-hour drive home to the Bay Area. I said, just come back and get me, in these days. And here they let me out a day early. And this is back way before there was no cell phones. And anyway, where I was in prison, you know, they let you out, and it's 5 miles to town, and then you could find a payphone and make a collect call. But this is what I remember is I had such joy, and I had fulfilled, and I was cleaning up the past, and I had called on my sinew like what mom, because I kept going, Mom, I'm calling on my sinew, Mom, I'm calling on my sinew. But when I got out of the prison and they opened the gates, and it was 5 miles to town, and this is no lie, I started skipping like we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. And so I skipped and I ran because I was free. I was free. I was free. I had done everything, and all I had to do was stay sober one day at a time. And that freedom, I skipped to town, but I just remember feeling like Dorothy. And I had all of that stuff from the past. I was forgiving. And so this is, like right now during the pandemic, a lot of us are reflecting on what we need to have self-forgiveness. And that, let's see, the other, I'm looking for the mom's other bullet, and I'll talk about the self-forgiveness. She said, tell people don't take anybody else's inventory until you have taken your own inventory. Your own inventory. And so I say that because it's all about, I think the gift of this pandemic is that we have time to reflect and have self-forgiveness. Anything in the past that was not us or reflective of us, we have time for self-forgiveness. And you're thinking about it because some of you, I mean, it's interesting, people are posting pictures of long time ago, they're posting pictures of their exes, they're posting pictures of, of when they graduated from high school, or they're posting pictures of before they got any gray hair, or posting pictures of their children. I mean, there's all of this forgiveness time, during the pandemic is a blessed time of self-reflection. And so that bullet about mom, she was saying, and she said this the other day too, is that we're like on a fast, like how when we're sundancing. And those of you who have been fasting or in any kind of ceremony where you have to give up some stuff like food, water, I think, let's see, the example she gave me was like, and on our reservation, it's really cool because everybody likes to give up stuff for Lent. And that's cool because, I was asking Mom about how I wanted to hear her story of how she quit smoking, abusing tobacco, smoking. She used to smoke Bull Durham, that you'd roll and... Hello! We're going to reconnect in a different part of the Wi-Fi area. So someone text, can you still see me? I still see it live. Okay, so welcome to the Native Wellness Institute Power Hour. My name is Theda Newbreast. My Blackfoot name is Mokoyo Sokoyi, which means the Milky Way or Wolf's Trail or Medicine Trail. And so my dialogue and topic today is about why we should listen to our mother. And so I'm just going to continue on because we had a little glitch in the Wi-Fi. And my mother gave me, right before we started, she gave me a couple things that she wanted to share with you. And so I'm doing that. So in this self-forgiveness, when we were talking about the self-forgiveness, Mom has always, whenever, that saying where you're pointing a finger at something and 3 fingers are pointed back at you. so I've been really taking that into account, when Native Wellness is doing healing circles, or when we're together, is that, are you, when you're in that group and something triggers you, something comes up. So I'll say it in an example. We were in a healing session with Wellspring a couple days ago, and these are workers that are working with people, the homeless. And one of the essential workers, because they're trying not to burn out and they're trying to forgive and take care of themselves, they were dialoguing about what's the difference between venting and what's the difference between complaining. And we had like a healing dialogue. And so this goes along with that, listening to our mothers and the self-forgiveness. And one of the women there, she has a tough job because she works with women who have been raped. She works with sexual assault prevention, and she works with the healing afterwards. And she said what happens, and as I'm visiting with, what happens is she feels like when she hears these stories, it sticks to her, almost like like it sticks on her. She carries, and they call that secondary trauma, or they call it. But she said, as she wanted to, what was the difference between venting? Because we talked about in self-forgiveness, you need to find a safe space, and you need to find safe people, and you need to find someone that you can vent to. Like, you say the things that hurt you, or that you hurt. It might not even be you, but it's that you're carrying these people's stories, and they can weigh you down. And so as you're so we talked about having that safe space versus complaining. Because you guys know, you have your relatives who are just what comes out of their mouth is, they'll complain about the weather, they'll complain about COVID, they'll complain about whatever's going on, and it's just it's energy sucking kind of, and usually behind that complaining. So think about this: there's some kind of resentment. That person carries a resentment. And so that is, and when you carry, that resentment, and they say that that's the poison that you're drinking, whoever you're resenting, and you're waiting for them to die, but you're drinking the poison. So that complaining, so part of this power hour is, when we're listening to what our mothers said, and mom will always say, to take your own inventory and to work on the things so that you're better prepared, and that you show up in the most balanced way that you can to help others. I just want to make sure I got through all her bullets, because there's more. I was one of the, I guess this is one of the humorous stories in forgiveness. And to me it's humorous because when I was practicing relationships, my mother was always there as a guide, but she would let me practice these relationships. But I had this one boyfriend, and I won't name names, but his drinking just continued, because that I would fall in love with these practicing alcoholics, because I was trying to recreate what had gone on with my own father as an alcoholic, and that's what you do as a sick codependent. Anyway, but it was humorous to me because Mom had all these pictures of us, me and this boyfriend, and she had photo albums of me and this boyfriend. And I came upon my mom, and she had all the photos, and she was cutting his face out of the pictures. And I just looked at, I go, Mom, what are you doing? She had the picture, and she had cut him out of the photo, And then she was telling the rest of the family. She goes, "See, doesn't Theta look happier now?" But it just anyway. That's just a memory about when mom would say, "Listen to your mom when she talks to you about self forgiveness." Listen to your mom in that sense. All right, April McGill. I see April McGill on. April's one of our allies in the San Francisco Bay Area. And so, welcome, April. We're talking about why we should listen to our mothers. And so I'm even when I was braiding my hair, one of the lessons, and I've said this several times, but I'm going to say it again, around our hair, and that this ritual of when you're braiding. So I visited with Jolene. I had done what I needed to do for the day to get ready for this. But when I was braiding my hair, I stopped midway. And because you're supposed to pray for yourself in this ceremony when you braid your hair. You're supposed to, with one strand, pray for your mind, your body, your spirit. Your mind, your body, your spirit. And even if you don't have any hair, just think about the day that you go through, the prayer before you eat, the prayer before you you go on with it's almost like pray before Zoom. Because I noticed even pray before Facebook Live, is braiding and your mind, your body, and spirit. And so I see April there. So April, I'm gonna speak to something we did 1 year ago, and I'm doing this because this is what my mother has taught me. Is April McGill and the ladies, all of the indigenous ladies in San Francisco, they have and it's kind of behind the Giant Stadium, the old Giant Stadium, and it's in an area where they have I don't know, 5 or 6 acres, and they're doing a community garden. And we had a gathering. We were doing a lot of celebration 1 year ago, because it was the 50th anniversary of the occupation of Alcatraz. And so April, we had, and of course it's in the city. We put up this big tent, where we were making medicine from willow, and we were cooking. We had meals made from the land, and there was this garden, there was all kinds of, there was not only medicinal, sweet grass and sage growing, there was stuff that you could eat, there was corn, and we used some of that, and we were just appreciating the land. And this is a community garden. So what was really cool was, like, there's an Azteca woman, helping grow everything there. Then there's tribal women, different tribes, the Navajo tribe, different Lakota tribes. And April McGill, we all got together, and so at night we had one of our men, and he's like old school. He just slept there to guard everything. Because everything was out and we couldn't so he left it and he guarded everything and would come in the morning. And I'm speaking about this because my mom would, when we were there, when we were ending, I had this dream that we needed to pray about this space in a collective, not just taking one tribal way. So it was kind of like a dream, like of a medicine wheel, honoring the 4 directions, the circle. And April McGill, I love you, April, because, and Michelle Moz, I love you, Janet King, Michelle Antone, Angel, any of, we went ahead, and when we were all done, and when you break camp, And it was, it was getting towards dark, but we decided we didn't we were going to build it with rocks from this dream just to say the prayer, but we had tobacco. And so part of, in listening to our mothers, what we did is we had 4 women stand in the east, the south, the west, the north, and one in the middle. And this is it's just such a good memory because we were just like, when we each took tobacco and we walked that medicine wheel with tobacco. And because we said, we don't know what's going to happen. We didn't know there was going to be a pandemic. We didn't know that was last November, the first case of COVID. But I remember Michelle Antone praying. I remember Janet King praying. I remember Michelle Moz praying and April McGill praying. And they were praying for the world. They were praying for a united effort. They were praying that everybody in the world could have enough food to eat. They were praying that there was enough water, drinkable water for everyone to have. They were praying that everyone had a house, had a place that they could sleep comfortable. And I just remember those prayers. So, it's good to see you on here, April, and that's why we should listen to our mothers. That's why we should listen to that advice around, even the equinox and the solstice, because, December 21st is a very beautiful time coming to us very soon. And that time in the earth, look at what's happening even for the vaccines. Look at, by next year, maybe we'll have enough vaccine for the whole world. By next year, we'll have had plans of what we learned in this last 8 months. By next year, some of us have transformed. Some of us have decided, our lives, where we want to live differently, how we want to live. I mean, a lot of people are minimizing. A lot of my hoarding friends, April, isn't that funny? A lot of our hoarding friends have given away all their stuff, and they decided you don't need that much to live. But in this listening to our mothers and making that sacred time, think about when you're praying. Taking your tobacco and putting out your tobacco, your pastaskan, your semi. We have many ways in putting it into the earth. So in our remaining time, this is also what my mother, she said this the other day, is she told me, don't be bashing anyone for celebrating a Christian holiday. Don't be bashing any pilgrims, okay? Because I would always say, in this on colonization, for about 20 years, I would say I don't want the colonizers' holidays, and so I would do it differently, because we believe, in our way that Christmas is every day. Thanksgiving is every day. So Mom, so I wanted to say a couple things in our remaining time. She said to fight the holiday blues, because our Uncle Gerald works the ER here, and he said the holiday blues always starts Thanksgiving weekend, and it would last till January 1st. It was when they saw the most ER visits, and he said it's the holiday blues. And so we're moving into that. But let's do it different. Let's do it different. Look at how you can plan, because like for some reason mom wants a couple of ducks. She wants to have duck to, and of course the only ones that there's just four of us who we can gather, and so it's going to be the four of us. We're not going to gather big. We're not going to make anyone travel. We're not going to travel, and we're just not going to reinfect. So she wants some ducks. So she had went around trying to find, there are some ducks here, but I'm not, oh God, I can't kill anything. But anyway, it was like, she went to Costco and they don't have any ducks. So we found out the Hooderites have ducks. And so now we got one of my sober brothers knows the Hooderites, and they're going to go get a couple of ducks. So my mom can have a duck during this meal of just giving Thanksgiving. So all of you out there listening to our Power Hour, just make a plan for your family now to have happiness and to have Thanksgiving and to be together and to appreciate each other. So because it's family time. And Native Wellness Institute, we're going to have a board meeting after this, I think, and we're always talking about what we can bring. And that's why we do the Power Hour. This Power Hour, we're going into, ninth month. It's the 35 weeks. Oh my God. I mean, I'm just like, oh my God. Native Wellness Institute, look at and I'm your speaker today. So during this holiday blues, switch it. Just switch it. Put things on pause. Take care of yourself. Cook what you want to cook. Watch on Netflix what you want to watch. Read what you want to read. Put on your favorite music. I wake up and I put on my Motown, and I wake up and that's how I start my day. Do the things with your family that make you happy, that give you joy. And make a plan of it. Because I was just thinking, because some of us, if Dr. Fauci is not going to travel, and all of, if they're not going to do this, then we were talking to all of our family, just stay put. Be disciplined. Enjoy yourself. Be disciplined until we get the vaccine and we're all, universal mask is coming. So design all your masks. Get all your masks ready. So it looks like I do look up at the clock because Jolene said you only have 1 hour, eh? So with that, I'm just gonna end with just a little prayer, and if you want this cool shirt, you can request it. Shift happens, because shift happens. And we got several other Native Wellness Power Hour shirts. But I'm just gonna end with the prayer, and Kitsikako, that means I love you. So I'm just gonna say, Ayos Jabatabi. I'll Ninna. I'll Napina Tusi. I'll Kita Pima. Spamukana Sixikai Kaina, Butsa Pikani, and Namskapi Pikani. Spamukana Xkanax. Spamukana Nanamska. Spamukana Moto Keeks. Spamukana Kanax Dimada. Spamukana Kami Poismanix. It's about to be. Creator, I look out. Everyone that sees and hears this Power Hour, surround them with their ancestors. Surround them with love. Surround them with joy. Surround them with forgiveness. Let us go into a brave new revolution, new world. Let Creator just come and be by us. Walk with us. Nudge us. Let us sleep good. Let us dream good. Everybody here in this power hour, even the ones who haven't seen, or they don't need to see this, go out and bless them from the tip of their head to the bottom of their feet, inside and out. Creator, we ask that our new leadership that's emerging, that you just give them good health in their mind and body and spirit, and that you give them good mental health to make good decisions, and that people can learn to be allies and put their hand halfway across the table to dialogue and shake the hand of someone maybe they never have, to make peace. And I'm just that's the prayer that I wanted to end with. And I see my little nephew Lance Ami. I love you, Lance. I love you very much from the day you were born. So these are tears of joy. So I'm gonna say Kitakito Matsuno, and we'll see you next week, Native Wellness Institute. We love you very much.